Hey guys, Casey here. You're tuning in to another episode of Lions Den Investments and Reviews. And in today's video, I wanted to talk about undervalued assets, okay? If you're an investor, and this is the biggest difference again between being a trader and being an investor, the biggest difference is the investors go after those undervalued assets and they hold on to them over time, okay? So they're not specifically geared in on short-term, timing the markets. What they'll end up doing a lot of times is they'll find an asset that has got great use case, if it's like on the technical side, or if it's a company that's just good fundamentals, good financial balance sheets, and good operations from an internal business perspective. So what they'll do is they'll find companies like that. They'll buy in before they're ever known of. Okay, so, for instance, before Amazon became Amazon, you had investors coming in and buying it up, and a lot of these people saw it as an undervalued asset. So, you got to look at the value. What do you think the value is of a company, let's say that's just starting, and where you think it'll be, say, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years from now? As long as you believe in the project or the company, that is building out services or a product or something like that, as long as you believe in that kind of stuff yourself and where you think that is going to go long term, then I would say it's a good investment. A lot of people ask that though, like, what's the best investment? What kind of company should I invest in if I want to try to retire early or just make a lot of money? And there's really not a straight answer on that. It basically just comes down to like what is it that you know? Again, your circle of competence. What do you understand? And take that path. Now, once you're there and you find out where it is that you're wanting to invest as far as like the sector, the marketplace. Once you find that out and you know what your passion is and you know like what you're really interested in, then you start honing in on, okay, you know, do I buy into or do I invest in a overvalued company and an overvalued asset, or do I go after something that's undervalued that has the potential to become something, like one of your, overvalued assets. So to give you an example here, okay, right now if you look at the telecommunications sector, okay, you got companies like or ISP providers. You got companies like AT&T, Sprint, Verizon, etc. Right? Well, these are all companies that I'd have to go back and look at price to earnings ratios, but and that's a whole nother topic that I can make a video on at a later date. But if you go back and you look at stuff like that, especially like right now, some of these companies that I'm mentioning might be overvalued, right? But they've been around for a long time as well. So you might end up going after something that's a little bit more undervalued, right? I'll give you an example. There's a project out there right now that deals with broadband and ISP providers, and it's found a way to solve a problem to sharing bandwidth when it comes to the live streaming videos. Okay, and that's huge. That is huge. And so for me, I look at something like that, especially because they're leading the industry when it comes to that kind of technology. Basically, to me, that the writing's on the wall. Okay, so I go after something like that, which is undervalued. And I know it's undervalued because if you look at the project, and this is in the blockchain space, by the way, if you look at the project, it's called THETA. Okay, and THETA, right now, you can go out and buy their tokens, which ride on the network that they created that allows the sharing of bandwidth, and it's decentralized. So if you go look at the price right now, the price is like 73 cents. Okay, it's under $1. It'd be like buying Tesla's SpaceX or something, at 5 cents, or buying Tesla at a dollar. So that's what I'm talking about when it comes to or regarding just buying in on undervalued assets, um, and getting in on them at the ground level before they ever make it into like an overvalued state. when it comes to the markets. So I just want to throw that out there because, again, if you go after overvalued assets, a lot of times what will happen is you'll invest at the top, and then these companies take a hit, or you get a market crash and you end up losing like 50, 60% of your investment, and then it takes longer for you to recover and break even again. So, uh, go after those undervalued assets. Again, that example I just talked about with THETA. Another cool thing about those guys, it's actually called THETA Labs. You can look them up. I'll leave a link in the description below. You can go to their website and read up on their project and what they're doing right now. And this isn't financial advice. I'm not telling you to go invest in THETA. I'm just simply saying that you want to go after undervalued assets, and that's something that I'm investing in right now. So do your own research. And again, it's not financial advice, but hit the link in the description below here, and you can go to THETA's main web page, and you can look for yourself to see like what kind of technology they're implementing. And it's something I forgot to mention, but when I was saying they're allowing people to share their bandwidth um, through a decentralized network. The other thing that's cool about that, from a corporate side of things, it allows these big companies to offload their uh, live streaming bandwidth from the data centers and put them on the THETA network. Okay, now why is that beneficial? Well, um, I used to be a network engineer, so I built out the data center for a bank, so I'm real familiar with this kind of stuff. But essentially, in a centralized environment, what happens is you got a data center, and it's got servers, routers, switches, all this different equipment, right? Well, if you're a telecommunications company, you got a user customer base, and if let's say you're like AT&T and T and you got something like DirecTV, all that stuff is centralized. So anytime you get a subscription, say to Netflix or again like AT&T's television services, you are sharing bandwidth from their centralized data center. Okay, and if that centralized data center is being hosted, let's say your subscription is being hosted on say like a virtual machine. I'll, I really don't want to go into too much detail about virtual machines and all that, but um, basically what it is a server, and if your subscription's on that server, it can bog down that server over time if you get too many customers on board. So what ends up happening is they have to spend, a couple $100,000, if not millions, to expand and grow their centralized data center just so they can maintain their user customer base, and they can continue sharing bandwidth so that it doesn't bog down when you're watching TV and you get that spinning wheel of death, right? Well, THETA's found a way to decentralize that and offload that bandwidth from those servers inside a centralized data center so that they can share it completely on the THETA network. And what it does is it saves these companies, these big telecommunication companies, it saves them hundreds of millions of dollars when it comes to sharing that bandwidth. That's huge. And that's just one aspect of THETA that I'll mention real quick. Again, like I said, there's a description and a link below. You can go check that out. But I want to tell you that's a great example of like investing in an undervalued asset. So with that said, I'm going to end the video. I'll be talking more about THETA and that particular investment in the future because I feel like it has a lot of potential right now. And yes, it is in the crypto space, but if you look at the actual project, it solves a lot of problems in corporate America. So with that said, guys, have a great day, and I will talk to you here soon.